The plane crash was a very spiritual experience for me because I just knew and I knew and I knew that, first of all, God exists. And you can know somebody. Like, I feel like I know Justin Bieber.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know him. I feel like I know him. But I don't know him.
Yeah.
Because I've never sat with him.
Right.
I've never gone on a hike with him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that you can know God.
Mm.
And many people know God.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know him.
Right.
And so I think I knew God.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt in the plane crash I knew God.
Mm.
You know what? One thing that I want to mention right off the bat is perspective, right? I have friends and family that have gone through traumas, right? Yours is your experience. Your thought is one thing, but how do you have the perspective to keep going and turning your life around? What was your life before the plane crash that you're saying that you've made such a 360 kind of turn?
Yeah, I think when you recognize that there's something or someone higher than you, and that there's a higher destiny, and that this journey is not momentary, it's not just this earth.
Yeah.
There's more to come.
Yeah.
When you've had a taste of death, but also life again, I would say, gain an eternal perspective where you realize that we're but a part of a saga, right? And a saga is a story within a greater story. And that's all my life is I get to play a saga in the great his story, history of the Most High, right? And so I think that, the plane crash was a very spiritual experience for me because I just knew and I knew and I knew that, first of all, God exists. And I would love to talk about philosophical and other reasons why you can come to a place of believing that God exists. I think that science actually points to him, and I love those conversations.
Were you a believer before?
Yes, but I'd say I hadn't made it my own. It's almost like being...
What parents taught you, what school taught you, what society is telling you.
Exactly, and kind of having some experiences, to be honest with you, I had some spiritual experiences when I was younger that were very profound. And so that's what I was going to get to, is the fact that, you can know somebody. Like, I feel like I know Justin Bieber.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know him. I feel like I know him. But I don't know him.
Yeah.
Because I've never sat with him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've never gone on a hike with him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that you can know God.
Mm.
And many people know God. But they don't know him.
Right.
And so I think I knew God. But I felt in the plane crash I knew God.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is to actually meet him. You know what I mean? And get the sense of his presence and his love, his great, great compassion for humanity. And for me, coming out of that, Jesus was the answer for me. Now, I've worked for many different denominations, spoken at all sorts of different conferences. I would say myself, I don't really categorize myself as anything except for the fact that I wish to live my life like this guy who lived 2,000 years ago, who radically changed the world by talking about flowers, seeds, and hanging out with kids.
Right.
And showing love to the poor and the needy. You know what I mean? I think that's what we need. And I think actually Jesus came to dismantle religion. And that's why he was killed. Because the religious people didn't like Jesus, because he came to free the people in their minds and in their hearts and to save them from their sins. And so Christianity for me was something that I gravitated towards. I think partially because I did want to study the science behind it, because I'd had this experience.
Yep.
And now I'm on this human journey of trying to explain it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So we have these experiences, and so now what was that? And so how do I now explain it? And really, we explain things through stories.
Right.
And so what
stories, analogies,
absolutely,
feelings. Yeah.
Right. I once heard it said that actually religion, all of us are religious in the sense that religion, the word literally means alignment of ideas.
Right.
Think about it. Alignment of ideas. So certain religions are aligned ideas.
Yep.
And really what all of us are doing on a day-to-day basis is we do have a worldview, and we're taking ideas and we're trying to make a cohesive system out of them. You know, we're aligning ideas. And so I went actually I did my undergrad in theological studies, got my bachelor's, and then started my master's in biblical and theological studies. And haven't finished my master's, but partially the way through. But I spent my 20s as a pastor, bro. I was like leading young adult groups, youth groups. I think I married somewhere close to about 90 couples, did funerals. I was entrenched in
service.
Yeah, it was
Right.
it was
That's
awesome,
amazing.
man. It was really cool. You know, it was a really, really neat journey. It was really cool. Now the pandemic changed that a lot. Churches obviously all went online, and which was kind of neat and cool. You know, in the beginning
Adjustment,
of the pandemic,
for sure.
wow, like we can do church online, like from your couch kind of thing.
Right.
And it was neat for a while, but I think maybe after a while you're like looking at the stats and the demographics. Like, are we like, is this hitting anybody? You know what I mean? Like,
it starts
Right.
to
Is
regress.
anyone watching?
Yeah.
it's
So-
like because we were short the in-person, affirmation, I guess.
For sure. So you went online afterwards. I actually have a question. There was so much to unpackage with your
Yeah.
story.
Please do.
One of the things you talked about was regret. You felt regret. I think this is when G started yelling that the plane's going down.
Yeah.
I think you talked about how you had this moment of regret. What caused that regret?
That's good. So literally, my family had endured a divorce. So my parents got divorced. And I think like my sister Sarah probably could have needed a more of a supportive brother. And I was just at the time being an idiot, like just, like I was 17 living with
selfish.
my
You're a
friends.
kid.
I'm selfish.
You're young.
Drinking and smoking. And,
You were the
know what I
older
mean? Like,
brother, older sibling?
yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
she
And
was,
then I
you're
got one older
17.
sister, and I'm like so tight with my sisters now. Like I was
Right.
FaceTiming. My sister Christine lives in Iceland,
Right.
and so I was FaceTiming her yesterday. I love
Right.
my sisters, but yeah. So it was honestly, I think it was a fight that we had over like some like DVD or something like that the day before, just sibling stuff. You know what I mean? And but yeah, and I've heard it. I actually heard a blog where there was a nurse that asked people things about life right before they died, what matters most. And one of the questions she asked was what matters most. And people said family and God,
Yeah.
but family, and friends. And so, man, like, I didn't know this podcast was going to be about this, but hey, maybe for some of us who are watching right now, reach out to your mom, call your dad, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Tell them
it's
you love
important.
them, you know?
You talk about that blog, but Harvard did a study, a 75-year study where they followed people, and they determined that the people that were happiest had the best relationships.
Wow. It's true, man.
And it's a Harvard study. It's published. You guys people could find it online.
I
and
believe
whatnot,
it.
So.
Because we're relational beings, right? And that's
For
why
sure.
the isolation that we experienced in the pandemic felt so backwards, because we are social beings, right? And we need that social
It's forced
interaction.
fun. The COVID was forced fun. You know how we're trying to take extra long weekends to have fun?
Yeah.
Now you're forced to have fun.
Yeah, it's like go.
Which was counterintuitive to what a lot of people's feelings were.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think COVID also was a moment for people to detach,
Right.
where everyone gets so used to the rat race, like
Yeah.
work, do this, do that. But now you're forced to take time off.
Yeah.
So you reevaluate your priorities and
You're
adjust
forced.
accordingly.
Yeah, you're forced to actually think about who you are at that moment,
Yeah.
because we're so attached to our labels and our positions at work. Whenever we get an introduction, I've never introduced myself as I'm a realtor.
Right.
I'm talking about being a free spirit and artist and being creative,
Right.
something along those lines. And the job is the last thing I want to ever talk about, right? And I learned that I only figured that about myself is through COVID,
Right.
right?
I did notice because I watched your interview with on 100 Huntley Street, I think it was.
Yeah.
You were pretty young at this time. Like when this happened, you
yeah.
were, my guess was 23, but I
Yeah. Well, I think the interview was probably 23, but I think the plane crash I was just turning 19.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
young.
I was super young. Yeah, we got married. So I met Marisa probably about 20, and we dated for about a year, and then we got engaged, and we got married, and we started to have kids when I was 26, 27, and so today we have Avalee, Jethro, and Axel, and Brandon. So we have
Right.
four. Yeah, so we have 3 biological kids. And we have a foster son who we've had for 12 years, which is
Wow.
another really cool story.
That's amazing.
So we've had Brandon. He's 26 now. We got him when he was 14, and that's been a real cool story. Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's interesting that you said you ran away from your family after graduation with a divorce, and now here you are. You're bringing people together and bringing people into your life. I'm very curious. Axel is a very unique name. I have as soon as you said that, I got the one memory in my mind, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
How did you choose the name Axel?
Well, it was
And it's
actually
not- yeah.
because I chose Jethro, because Jet Johnson, I liked Jethro, the name, and my wife, then since I got to choose Jethro,
Yeah.
my wife actually was like, you know what, I really want Axel. And you know why? About 20 weeks into Axel's pregnancy, or when my wife was pregnant with Axel, she started to bleed. We were at a playground. We had just gotten an ultrasound, and next thing you know, she's gushing blood. And right away I'm thinking, oh man, it's a miscarriage. So we go back and we get everything checked out, and baby's heart still beating. But what has happened is the uterus has separated ever so slightly, and she's bleeding. And so Axel's pregnancy was an up and down one. We didn't know if he was going to make it. She was on bed rest, and finally Axel came out, and he was a perfect baby boy. And Ax means peace. So like if you think of Pax Romana, which was the Rome of a piece of Rome, Axa, something is an axis. Like if something's completely still, Ax, it's peace. And Axel, El is like Elohim or Daniel. El means God. And not just in, I think, Hebrew, it means in a lot of religions. So it means the peace of God. And in that moment when life was a roller coaster where you weren't sure if you're going to be able to have this baby or not, it was only the peace of God that got us through. And that's why his name is Axel. So thanks for asking that question.
That's amazing. How did you meet your wife?
Yeah, so we met at church, actually. I was attending a church, and she was going to the same one. And I started talking to her, and it was my knowledge of dinosaurs that for some reason made her attracted to me. So I was like debating like the age of dinosaurs, and like how could dinosaurs, because there's been paintings in caves about that look a lot like dinosaurs. So how could the ancients have seen dinosaurs in order to draw the dinosaurs or something like that? So I was talking to my friend Jordan about this, and for some reason this impressed her. And so so I started talking to her, and then next thing you know, we started going on a date. We went on a date to Eastside Mario's, and that was the rest of the story, man. Yeah. And really, I was just on the way here driving, and I was just talking to Marisa, and I was just telling her how much I love her, because I feel like in life, each of those cycles as a spouse in life, they also go through cycles. They also go through challenges. And if you stick it through, then life actually gets richer with your partner. Love changes, but it actually, and then having kids, of course, changes that. But life becomes more rich if you allow it to. If you allow it to, yeah.